Okay, so every time one of these big AI systems, launches a new feature and gives it a powerful name like Skills, the first thing I always wonder is, hang on, is this just a fancy saved prompt, or are we talking like full-blown agents here?
Yeah.
If you've been trying to figure out how Claude Skills fit into, well, your already pretty complex AI workflow, you are definitely not alone.
Oh, absolutely. That confusion, it's completely understandable. And honestly, it's the right place to start. We've seen similar features pop up before, right? And the actual difference is often, uh, let's say, murky. So our goal today is simple. Give you a clear mental model, something repeatable, something you can actually trust. We want to cut through all that noise and show you exactly how you can use the system for, consistent, standardized results, like right away.
Yeah, we've been digging into the practical side of things, not just the marketing fluff, to figure out, okay, how are skills really different from custom instructions or projects? And crucially, how can you put them to work, like today? We're aiming to move past the theory and get straight to a framework you can actually deploy.
Exactly. And that really starts with getting the definition crystal clear. If you strip away all the branding, what are Claude skills at their core? They are packaged expertise.
Packaged expertise. Okay, I like the sound of that. Define the package for me. What's inside?
Right. Think of a skill as like a small portable folder. Inside, you've got very specific instructions. You've got examples of perfect output, sometimes examples of what not to do, which is just as important. And here's the key part. Optional executable scripts.
Executable scripts. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
But isn't this just like having a long set of instructions I could just paste into the chat? Why create a whole new file type for this? What makes it a, different class of tool?
Good question. It really boils down to three operational advantages, why it's actually useful. First one, persistence. Unlike your chat history, which gets lost or is specific to one conversation, a skill survives. It lasts across all your chats, across different projects you might set up, across different sessions. You teach it the method once, and it's just there, permanently available.
Okay, persistence, that's one. What else?
Second, specificity. A skill is laser-focused. It captures how you do one specific thing really well. Think your standard weekly update format, or maybe your brand-safe social media post template, or even a complex compliance check procedure. It's about one repeatable task.
One task. Got it. And the third trait, you said that's where the efficiency really comes in.
That's the on-demand loading. And yeah, this is really key for efficiency, especially when your procedures get complicated. Claude doesn't load the whole skill right away. First, it just reads the lightweight metadata, basically the name and a quick description. It only pulls in the heavy stuff, the thousands of tokens detailing checklists, examples, or those scripts we mentioned, if your task actually matches what that skill is designed for.
Okay. So it's not constantly clogging up the context window with instructions I don't need for this particular conversation. The core value then is shifting from like prompting the same complex thing over and over to just teaching it once.
Yeah.
And making sure that expertise doesn't swamp every single interaction. That alone sounds like a big win for governance, actually.
Exactly. You've hit the nail on the head.
Okay, let's tackle the big confusion point.
Yeah.
If I'm already using Claude quite a bit, right? I've got ongoing projects set up for different clients or research topics, and I use custom instructions to set the general tone, like be concise or whatever. Do I need to throw all that out? How do I stop these three things, projects, skills, and custom instructions, the P, S, and C, from just becoming a tangled mess in my workflow?
Yeah, this is probably the most critical thing to clarify, and the answer is you don't ditch anything. It's about using the right tool for the right layer of your work. We can use a simple mental model, P, S, and C. Thinking about the layers helps keep them straight.
All right, let's break it down. P first, projects.
P is for persistent place. You use projects when the context needs to build up over time. So think about an ongoing client relationship or maybe complex research that stretches over weeks, maybe even product road mapping. The real value of a project is the continuity you get inside that specific workspace. The AI remembers the history, the files, the context for that project. But importantly, that context doesn't follow you when you switch to a different client's project, right? It stays put.
Got it. So projects are the home base for the long-term stuff where history matters within that container. Okay. What about C, custom instructions?
C is for company voice, or maybe just your baseline style preferences. Think of this as the AI's permanent general personality filter. The key here is to keep these universal and short. Really short, like be concise, or always use numbered lists, or maybe cite sources for external facts. These are the rules that should apply to pretty much every chat, no matter what the specific topic is.
Okay, so if I have, say, a 50-point checklist for how a final report needs to be formatted and submitted, I definitely shouldn't just dump that into my custom instructions. That sounds like bad practice.
Exactly. That's the classic mistake people make, putting really long, specific checklists or brand guidelines with hex codes or complex data cleaning steps into custom instructions. It just floods the context. That kind of detailed procedural stuff, that belongs in S.
Which brings us to S for specific standard.
Precisely. Skills are for your repeatable procedures. The compliance checklist we mentioned, the specific steps to transform data in a certain way, your standardized QA framework. They're portable. They work across different conversations and projects. They activate automatically when Claude thinks they're relevant. And crucially, they hold all those lengthy, complex details without cluttering up your baseline custom instructions or your specific project history.
That actually cleans up the mental architecture quite a bit. It's not about replacing things. It's about layering them correctly. P for place, C for character, S for standard.
You got it. Layering, not replacement.
Okay, but I'm still circling back to the technical side. I'm still a little skeptical, maybe. When I save a prompt, it's just text. You said skills are a different class of tool. What functional boundaries does this feature actually break? Can it, like, interact with external data or run calculations?
Right. This is where we move beyond just, saving instructions and into something closer to real automation. The first huge differentiator is executable code. A skill can actually include scripts, specifically Python scripts, though maybe others later that run inside Claude's own execution environment.
Whoa, hang on. Actual running code, embedded right there in the skill definition.
Yes. And this is designed to solve that tricky last-mile problem we often hit with AI. Natural language prompting is great for outlining things, but sometimes you need precision. Code is just better at, say, shaping a spreadsheet exactly right, or cleaning up messy CSV data reliably, enforcing super specific style rules, or converting document formats without errors. You're basically giving the AI the ability to run functional logic, not just follow descriptive instructions.
Okay, that definitely elevates it beyond a saved prompt. That makes the skill a genuine functional tool. And you also mentioned it can string these things together. Composability.
That's the second big technical edge, composability. You don't always have to manage the individual steps yourself. You might ask Claude something relatively high level, like generate the Q3 internal budget projection document. Claude can recognize that this single request actually needs, maybe, 3 different skills working together. Perhaps one for data cleaning, another for financial modeling setup, and a third for the PPTX export style guide. You just describe the outcome you want, and Claude figures out how to coordinate the necessary skills to get you there. It orchestrates the process.
Okay, that's powerful. But let's talk constraints. Anyone who deals with really long instructions, maybe in API calls or just long chat sessions, knows the context window is always the bottleneck. If these skills contain potentially thousands of tokens of instructions and examples, how does the system stop itself from constantly hitting those limits? How does it manage token consumption?
This is potentially the ultimate game changer, especially for reliability and, frankly, cost-effectiveness. It goes back to that progressive disclosure idea, or what you call the token advantage earlier. Remember, Claude only pulls the full heavy instructions and resources if the lightweight metadata, the name and description, matches the task at hand.
Right, so let's say I package our massive 15,000 token brand guide as a skill. That huge chunk of text doesn't actually consume any context window space unless I specifically ask Claude to, say, draft a marketing one-pager following brand guidelines. Only then does it load the guide, which means my everyday chats stay lean, reducing the chance of the conversation getting cut off or hitting limits. That improves reliability and efficiency.
You absolutely nailed it. You keep that precious context headroom clear for the actual conversation. It really represents a fundamental shift in how we interact with the AI. You're moving from constantly pasting context and instructions every single time to permanently teaching your standards once.
Okay, you've convinced me. This does earn its keep as a distinct feature. Let's make it concrete. What are, say, 5 high-impact examples, things listeners could potentially go and implement, like today or tomorrow?
All right, let's dive into some practical use cases.
First one you mentioned was the document creator. What's the goal there?
The goal is generating real files. Not just text that looks like a document, but actual Word docs, Excel spreadsheets with working formulas, properly formatted PowerPoints, even PDFs. You'd start by enabling the official document creation skills Anthropic provides. Then you can ask for a specific deliverable. For instance, create a Q3 budget forecast in Excel broken down by month for these 3 departments. But the key isn't just the initial creation, it's the iteration. You can then follow up with requests like, okay, now add a variance column comparing forecast to actuals, and apply conditional formatting to highlight variances over 10%.
Oh.
And the model executes those changes within the file. It really tackles the pain of manually creating and tweaking standard business artifacts.
That sounds like a massive time saver, especially for anyone who constantly rebuilds templates. Okay, what about consistency across documents?
Right, that leads perfectly to the second one, the brand guardian skill. This is all about enforcing organizational consistency without relying on, tedious manual QA checks for every single document. You package all your visual standards, the specific hex codes for colors, logo usage rules, spacing guidelines, proprietary fonts, everything into a skill. Then, when someone asks Claude to generate, say, a sales deck, the Brand Guardian skill applies those styles automatically by default. But here's where it gets really powerful. You can include a red flag checklist inside the skill itself. So the skill doesn't just apply the styles, it actively checks for common branding errors like incorrect font sizes, poor contrast ratios, using the wrong logo variant before it even finishes generating the document.
Wait a second, so that brand guardian skill, it essentially turns what might be a multi-hour compliance review by a human into an automated pass-fail check run by the AI during creation. That's huge, especially for marketing teams, legal, anyone dealing with brand standards.
Exactly. It standardizes the quality of the output pretty much instantly, cuts down on reworks significantly.
Okay, speaking of quality, the third example you brought up, the automated researcher, is interesting. It seems focused on enforcing a specific method for synthesis, not just summarizing.
That's the core idea. The goal isn't just to get a summary of information Claude found. It's to get that information structured according to your specific analytical framework. So you'd write your required synthesis structure right into the skill. For example, all research summaries must explicitly capture these sections: purpose, methods used, quality of evidence assessment, key findings, and documented counterarguments or contradictions. Then, when you feed Claude a stack of research papers or articles on a topic, the skill forces the output into that predefined structure. It ensures, for instance, that any contradictions found across the sources are always captured in their own dedicated section, so you can spot disagreements immediately.
I see. So it enforces my preferred academic rubric or my company's standard analysis template every single time, regardless of who is running the query. Okay, if I want my whole team to start using these skills, how do I standardize the creation of the skills themselves? That sounds meta.
It is a bit meta. And that brings us to the fourth example, the skill creator. The goal here is rapid onboarding and ensuring consistency even in how you build your standards. You essentially use a skill to teach Claude how to build other skills. You enable this meta skill, then describe a new repetitive workflow you want to standardize, maybe just in plain English. The skill creator skill would then propose the necessary file structure for the new skill, draft the instructions based on your description, and maybe even suggest specific examples or helper scripts needed. It basically standardizes the process of standardization.
Okay, that's clever. Standardization.
Yeah.
And the fifth one, you mentioned it's for teams that already have a lot of documentation lying around.
Yeah.
The skill seeker.
Exactly. This is for bootstrapping the process if you already have significant existing knowledge codified somewhere. You can point this tool, the skill seeker skill, at existing resources like a documentation website, an internal company playbook, maybe a massive operations manual PDF. It attempts to analyze that content, extract the underlying structure, identify key commands or procedures, and then generate a draft skill based on that material. You'd still need to inspect it, refine it, keep the parts you trust, maybe add guardrails, and then version the final result. But it gives you a massive head start in bringing your existing institutional knowledge into this new AI-powered framework.
Wow, okay. All 5 of those really hammer home the same core idea, don't they? Package your standard method once, give it a name, call it by name, and let Claude handle the enforcement and execution.
That is absolutely the central thesis here. Repeatable excellence.
All right, I'm sold on the potential. If I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I want to build my first custom skill, what's the actual rhythm? What does the setup process look like in practice?
Right, you need to approach it with a bit of a product mindset. Ship something small, test it, refine it, and then version it for stability. So, step 1 is basic enablement. Make sure skills are actually turned on in your Claude settings, or maybe get your admin to enable them organization-wide if that applies. Step 2 is just proving the basic flow works. Try one of those official document skills we talked about. Ask it to make a small Excel file, then ask for one simple edit. Just confirm the end-to-end process functions as expected in your environment.
Okay, basics checked. Then, when I go to create my own first custom skill, what's the key step to making it reliable and durable?
The key is to start small and focused. Pick one high-friction, frequently repeated procedure that causes pain today. That's your candidate for skill, #1. Give it a really clear, simple, obvious name, something you'd naturally say in conversation so Claude can find it easily using plain language. Then, step 4, and this is crucial. Test it rigorously. Don't just try one prompt. Try 3 or 4 different phrasings or scenarios that should trigger that skill. And this is important. Check Claude's reasoning trace or output logs to confirm that the model actually identified and loaded your skill for that task. And the most important part for durability is this. When it doesn't work perfectly, resist the urge to just tweak your prompt. Instead, tweak the instructions inside the skill itself. Treat the skill like the product you're refining and improving over time.
That makes perfect sense, especially thinking long-term maintenance. Treat the skill as the source of truth. Speaking of refinement, what separates a well-designed skill from a sloppy one? Is there a sort of checklist for designing good skills?
Absolutely. The best skills tend to read like good, clear engineering documentation. They generally need 4 key components. First, an obvious name and purpose. We mentioned the name, but the purpose should be a concise description of what it does and when it should be used. Second, clear success criteria. You need to list the specific pass-fail conditions. What does success look like? What checks must the skill perform? For example, output must adhere to the attached style guide, or accuracy for data extraction must be above 99%.
Okay, name, purpose, success criteria. And the last 2 sound like they're about safety and predictability.
Exactly. Third, you need explicit guardrails. Call out clearly what the skill should not do. What kinds of tasks are out of scope? Are there safety considerations, especially if it might interact with sensitive data or external systems? You need to define the boundaries. And finally, fourth, versioning. This is critical for use in teams or production workflows. Pin your skills to specific tested versions. This ensures predictability. When you share a skill or use it in an automated process, everyone knows they're using the approved, stable standard. Updates should be intentional and versioned, not accidental.
This really does sound like a powerful new layer for standardization in AI workflows. So zooming out one last time, if I've got my projects holding ongoing context, maybe I'm experimenting with agents to orchestrate tasks, where does this skill layer physically fit within that broader ecosystem? How do they all play together?
That's the system view. Skills slot in as the foundational, reusable expertise layer. Think of them as specialized contractors or tools in the toolbox. They are much smaller and more focused than autonomous agents, and they are lighter and more portable than projects, which hold broader context. Crucially, they aren't replacements for projects or agents. They are complementary pieces within a larger governance and execution system. So projects hold the evolving narrative, the history, the artifacts for a specific initiative. Agents provide the coordination, the planning, the autonomy to decide which tools to use.
Okay, so walk me through it. A complex task request comes in, an agent picks it up, maybe it identifies the right project to work within.
And then the agent composes the solution by calling specific Claude skills by name. Each skill is invoked to do its one focused, standardized job: clean the data, apply the brand style, run the compliance check. It enforces its internal rules and success criteria. Then it hands its clean, quality-assured piece of the result back to the agent, or perhaps directly into the project context. The overall outcome becomes much more predictable and reliable because the building blocks the agent is assembling are these modular version, pre-approved standards, the skills.
Knowledge scales when you package it. That really is the core value proposition we started with, isn't it? This feels like a genuine shift from constantly telling the AI how to do something well one time to permanently teaching the AI the established professional standards of your team or your organization.
It's like bringing craftsmanship and process discipline to AI interactions. Teams don't want more friction, right? They want fewer opportunities to make avoidable mistakes. This skill system provides exactly that: built-in consistency, automated governance, reliable execution of standards.
So if you're listening and you lead, say, a researcher's team, maybe your first step is building that automated researcher skill we talked about, encoding your specific synthesis rubric. Or if you run operations, maybe you start with a quarterly business review skill that builds the standard spreadsheets and slides with all the right financial checks baked right in.
Build it once, test it, version it, pin it, share it with the team. The real power here is teaching your AI system something important about how you work and having that standard never be forgotten.
All right, so here's the final thought for you, the listener, to mull over as we wrap up. What is the single most repetitive, standardized, yet necessary task in your daily or weekly work? That one high-friction action item that you always have to explain to someone or double-check or fix after the fact? What's that one thing you could package up as a Claude skill today and potentially never have to explain or manually quality check again? Go find that task, go build that first skill, and start letting the model carry more of that standardized load for you.